In this video, I'm going to show you how I rebind a toki. This is actually a client's carving. It's really beautiful. I've asked him if I was able to use this footage and he was happy for me to do so. This piece is really great to show with because it's very large and the carvings is very prominent, so it's easy to work with. The first thing I do here is cut off all the old cord and take all of that off. And then you'll see this carving's not too bad, but generally these stones have a lot of buildup of wax and dead skin. So I just give it a bit of a clean before I put a fresh new cord on there. Then for the cord, I'm using a pre-plaited 4-strand cord. Most people won't have a pre-plaited cord. You can pre-plait it before you use it. The reason I use pre-plaited cord is so I can show it to the client and then he can see the thickness of it and see how it will look before I actually do the bind. But depending on the size of the hole in your carving, you might not actually be able to use a pre-plaited cord. You might have to put in all the strands of cord individually and then plait it after if the hole is a little bit smaller. For a carving of this size, a 4-strand is generally what we would recommend. The heavier the carving, the thicker the cord you want to be using. Then once the stone is in the middle of the cord, I'm going to go ahead and do barrel knots on either side. These are the knots that slide on the cord, so they are adjustable. So on the right hand side first, I put both the cords up against my index finger. Then the shorter cord, I just pull it through and then I wrap that around my index finger once and then again coming in the back to create this cross on my finger. Then when I come back around, I pull my finger out of the cord and I put that little extra piece of cord where my finger was. And that is my first barrel knot. Then I just pull it tight, adjust it and dress it so it looks good. And I also make sure that it slides nicely on the other cord before I go ahead and tighten it. Once I'm happy with that, I will go ahead and do the exact same on the other side. So using that loose bit of cord, wrapping that around my finger, and then back around on the back side, take my finger out and then putting the little tail through where my finger was. And then pulling that tight and dressing it. Then I check that it slides well, and when I'm happy with that, I tighten everything up. At this stage, I come and cut the ends off, just leaving a little bit of cord before the knot so I can burn that down and make sure that it doesn't unravel. Once I'm done with that, I like to place the knots in the middle and just make sure that everything is aligned correctly. I pull the carving to the middle, make sure that everything is symmetrical on either side. And then now I'm going to come and do the lashing to start my binding. To do the lashing, I'm using a singular cord, and the thickness of the cord really depends on the size of the stone. Now I'm using something very similar to what the client had before, but if I was working on a much smaller carving, I would use a much smaller cord. If I was working on a thicker carving, I would probably use a thicker cord. To make my lashing, I make a loop, and the little end of the cord is going to face up where your neck would be. And then I've got about 2 meters or 2.5 meters facing down where the carving is. And I'm going to place this loop just behind the carving or just next to it. Here my loop's a little bit small, so I'm going to make it bigger so it can wrap around the stone. And I'm using the bottom of the loop and wrapping that around the carving. I do one time around, and then when I come back, I will go above the first initial loop, like that. And then every time you do another loop, you will have to detangle it, so either go around the carving at the bottom or either go around the cord at the top. But if you don't do this, it will tangle up very fast. And you can see every time I'm doing another loop on the lashing, I am going above the one that I just did and then detangling that. Sometimes I do 2 in a row. The more you do without detangling, the messier it gets, so it's easier just to detangle after every single one. The amount of loops that you do is really up to you and what you think will look good. I think what's recommended generally is about 5. I've probably done more here. When you're happy with the size of your lashing, then just come and pull that very long piece of cord down and it will tighten up your lashing. At this stage, you want to adjust the lashing so that it is right in the center. You can adjust it easily here, pull it down to the stone and make sure that it's really in the center. Then when the placement is good, you can pull that lashing tight. Now I'm going to come in with a pull through cord. I like to use bright colors so I don't have any mix up with my binding, but that's entirely personal preference. There is a clear distinction between the back and the front, and I'm going to put my pull through cord on the back. And I'm going to align it nicely with the lashing that we just did. Then I'm going to take my cord and I'm going to go down to the right side over the pull through cord and towards the front. And here, these first initial binds are the most important. They need to be really centered, and then come back to the back and create a cross on top of the cord here. This first cross is very important that it's in the middle. This will actually dictate how all the other crosses will sit. So this one you really need to make sure that it's really in line with the center. It's going straight over that thick 4-strand cord and that it's looking good. If this is slightly to the side, then all your crosses will be slightly to the side. So really spend some time here adjusting it and making sure that you're really happy with it. Then I'm going to come and do the exact same thing on the front side. So coming through towards the right, crossing over that 4-strand towards the right, going over the back one time around, and then coming back to the front and creating that cross in the center at the top. And again here I just want to adjust it to make sure that that cross is really centered and looks good. Then we're going to continue this motion over and over. So one down around the stone and then come back up and create that cross. And for the first few crosses, probably the first 3, I'm really paying attention to them and where the cord sits and if it's good. If it is not in the center, unfortunately, this is when you would take everything apart and start again. And I continue this motion over, and the entire bind is the same motion with the cord going up, around, and down. What's really important here is that it's very tight. I have a lot of pressure in my right hand holding that cord, and I'm really pulling it tight every time I go around the stone again. And with a binding like this, it actually dictates when to stop because of the grooves in the carving. Once you get up to those grooves, that's when you stop binding. Some carvings won't have these grooves at the top, so it'll be up to you to decide when to stop binding. But with something like this, you just stop when you reach those grooves. And so when I come up to those grooves, I then go once around the front again and then to the back, and all that extra cord that you're holding in your right hand, that will go through the little blue loop at the bottom into your pull through cord. And then when it's securely in there, you want to pull through all of that. And there is a lot of pressure here, so you are going to have to pull really tight to get that cord through, and then pull the cord all the way through so that there is nothing left at the bottom. Then you can check over your binding, and then when you're happy with that, you can cut off the binding cords, just leaving a little bit of cord left so you can burn that and just make sure that it doesn't move later on when it's being worn. Thank you for watching this video. I hope this could help a few people. For all of those that are interested in this type of content and in greenstone binding in general, I would highly recommend to go check out Campbell Carving's YouTube page. He has a lot of knowledge on greenstone binding and carving, and yeah, he's just got a ton of really good videos, so highly recommend checking him out.